Okay, we are at the Bay Arts Alliance in Panama City at the corner of Harrison and 4th Street. Okay, and my name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the Executive Director for the Children's Coalition Incorporated. And I am interviewing, sir, what's your name?
Charles Eckartz.
Okay, today is September 27th, 2019. Skip, when is your birthday?
February 26, 1955.
And what is your address?
1051 Highway 90, Chipley, Florida.
Okay. And what branch of the service were you in?
I was in the Air Force.
What year?
From 1972 until 1975.
Okay, and where were you when you went into the service?
I was in Niceville, Florida, and I went through the AFE station in Montgomery.
Okay, and where did you go to basic training?
At Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas.
What were you doing before you went in service?
I was a fishing charter mate out of Destin, Florida, working on boats and repairing boats and catching fish.
Okay. Why did you choose the Air Force?
I grew up in an Air Force family. Both my parents were in the Air Force. My dad did 22 years, and my mother had been a nurse. And I got involved with it because I felt it was the right thing to do. I was actually a conscientious objector, and I would probably get drafted, so I figured I'd go in the Air Force, and that way I could pick a little bit of what my career was going to be, and that's pretty much how it worked out.
How long was your basic training?
8 weeks, and it was tough.
Right.
We had 5 guys in my flight commit suicide. We had a real tough instructor. Sergeant Rucker was one of the meanest, nastiest people I've ever met in my life. And he was our instructor for the whole time, and he pushed everybody harder than I thought we needed, but it was his squad. So we had a lot of people, a lot of problems with it. And like I said, 5 people committed suicide in the time I was there.
Mm-hmm. Where did you go to, where was your tech school?
I went to Shepherd for medical training, and I went to Key West and jumped with the Navy divers down there in the training.
Okay. You said Shepherd?
Shepherd at Wichita Falls, Texas.
Yeah, and for how long, what was your MOS?
I was a paramedic. They didn't call it back then, we just called it medics.
Yeah.
But I went through medical training up there for emergency medicine.
How long was that, 20 weeks?
It was 24 weeks, I think.
Okay.
It was pretty long.
Right.
And then the jump school in Key West was 3 weeks. It wasn't a very long school.
What year was that?
That was in 73.
What?
No, 72.
Did you go to Vietnam?
I'm sorry, 73. Yeah, it was in Vietnam.
Okay.
I was at Tan Son Nhut in Vietnam.
So after Key West, you went?
I went to Castle Air Force Base for 65th Tactical, and I went and sat out there on the flight line waiting for something to happen, and then they sent me to Vietnam.
Did I ask you why did you join the Air Force?
I went in because I had a baby on the way, and I was in Niceville. There wasn't a whole lot to do where you could really be productive other than just fish, and I didn't see that happening as fast as I needed it to be, productive.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I got in the military, I could take care of my family better, so that's why I went in.
Okay. When did you get out of the service?
In 75.
You went in what year?
73.
Okay.
I got out early because I had hardships.
Oh.
I had a wife who left me while I was in the hospital, and when she left, mentally I lost everything.
Okay.
And I went to my squadron commander. They had to change my MOS because they couldn't let me out. And my job was too critical. So they made me a cook for 3 months on the flight line in Loring, Maine.
Uh-huh.
And I stayed up there for the whole time until I got out. And I got an early out, and I came back to Niceville, Florida, and it took me a long time to find my family.
Okay. So you didn't see any combat?
Yes, I did. I was a river jumper
Where?
in Vietnam.
Oh, how long were you?
I was 11 months over there.
Okay.
And I jumped, I was mainly in the Mekong River, pulling people out of blown out boats or helicopters and went down. And I didn't spend a lot of time in Tatsuno because our outfits were jumping all up and down the rivers. And we would stay in villages or other camps for a night or two to patrol an area to keep it going.
Uh-huh.
And it was a very difficult time for me because I'm a conscientious objector. I didn't believe in war. But the first flight with the helicopter, we came back to the flight line, and the crew chief pulled me aside and said, I want to take you around the helicopter. And I want you to look at these little green patches that are all over it. And so I walked and crawled underneath the bottom of the chopper, and he said, now you count out all those patches to me. And I counted 35 or 40 little round silver, or I think it was silver or green, I can't remember, I think it might be green, but patches on it. And I said, I count 38 or so of them. And he says, those are bullet holes from the last flight. Now count how many bullet holes are under there right now. There were 15 bullet holes that were no patches. After that, I had my 45 on my side because I realized that the red cross on the side of the chopper was a target. And so I had no reason not to protect myself, and that's why I kept my gun the whole time after that.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that, the conscientious objectiveness is great if you're not in a combat situation.
Yeah.
But it changes once you get over there and they actually shoot at you.
Right.
It changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a very good crew chief who watched over me like I was his son, and I can't think anybody else got me out alive other than him.
Okay. What else you want to tell us about Vietnam?
Well, I got over it.
What were the people on the economy like? Did you interact with the?
I interacted a lot with the local people because, first off, I didn't like being around the military. And second off, I play music. So everywhere I went, somebody had a guitar or something, and I'd jump on it, and I spent a lot of time with locals outside the base. And it was the one thing, being able to get a guitar and get something to play music with other people was the one thing I felt kept me sane, because I would have lost it. Everything I saw, the things that you witness are things that human beings shouldn't do to each other. And when you're pulling somebody out of a blown up boat who you'd met a couple weeks before, who was a good guy,
Mm-hmm.
and they're dead. I mean, there's no words that can describe what goes through you. I felt that the most important thing I could do was to get out and spend time with people to let them understand that all of us weren't gung-ho to kill everybody in the world.
Right.
And then probably the hardest thing that I had happen to me over there was I had a good friend, Sal, and he was Italian from New York City. And Christmas Day we were in our hooch, and we went outside to see what was going on. There was a bunch of hulag going on out there, and the Viet Cong shelled the compound, and Sal got killed. And it was he literally died in my arms, and it affected me, well, to the point where I really have trouble dealing with it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, it's something I never wanted any of my children or anybody I know to have to go through,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And I got permission from the base commander to write a letter to Sal's mother and explain what happened, and explain to her that I was there with him. And his last words had to do with his family. He said, take care of my family, take care of my friends, but make sure my mom and my dad understand that I died for my country, and I'm not just a crazy guy, because he was in the military against their wishes. But it was something real powerful, and he, when he died, I lost it for a while. I started drinking real bad and doing everything I could get my hands on. And when I finally got, the crew chief kind of grabbed me and said, you need to get a grip on things. And when I finally did get my head back together, I got assigned to a new chopper without this guy. And they sent us up with a green captain. And I think he'd flown 2 or 3 missions. And he said that we went up and we were doing the river jumping, but every once in a while we have to check the depth on the river to make sure, you know, if we were diving in it, that we had enough air and we had enough stuff. So he'd drop a transducer down and we'd read it. Well, we were going in on a riverboat that had been blown apart. And part of it was laying on the sandbar, part was down in the water. And he told me we had 25 feet of water. And I jumped with dual tanks on. I had 2.5 feet of water. And I broke my thigh. I ruptured 3 discs in my lower back. And I had to call for help. I couldn't do anything. I was just broken. And I got back in the chopper and I called him every name I could think of. His name was Aslan, and it became everything else it could be. But it got me home. I got back to Travis and recovered pretty much.
So where were you, what was your station in life after that?
Well, I came back and I tried to, once I was out of the hospital, I hiked from Needles, California to Lassen National Park because I've been told I use a cane the rest of my life. And 3 days out on the hike, I threw my cane away, finished my hike and got back on duty. And they sent me to Caribou, Maine, at Loring Air Force Base. And when I got up there, I had a lot of family problems. My wife had disappeared and I didn't know where anything was. So I went to the base commander, and he actually knew my dad, Colonel Dyer. He was a really wonderful guy. And he got me in a situation where they changed my job and got me where I could go and get out easier than what the military was allowing at the time, because my duty as a medic was a critical one at the time. So they weren't releasing any of them on hardship discharges, or you could get out on a medical, but that was pretty much the only extra way to get out early. And so I changed over and got my MOS changed up being a cook, but I worked on the flight line for 3 months. And I finally got my hardship and got out a 1.5 years early.
Where were you when you separated?
In Loring.
Michigan?
Caribou, Maine.
In Maine.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So what did you do when you got out of the service?
Well, for about 2 years, I searched for my wife and my daughter. I couldn't find them, so I started traveling. I bought an old Econoline van, fixed it up, and I cross-country traveled and did odd jobs here and there, playing music here and there. And then I went back to California and I finished my college out at San Francisco State. And I went into TV broadcasting and radio, and after being in it, I hated the business. So I called a friend of mine from school and went down and made surfboards in Carlsbad, California.
And where?
In Carlsbad, California.
Yeah.
I went down and made surfboards and boogie boards for a while. And I got bored with that lifestyle, so I went to Houston, Texas and started a construction company. And I did my own business. I did custom carpentry for 4 or 5 years. And I got to the point where the oil companies were shutting down business there, and the lawyers, everybody with the big money that I'd been working for was leaving. So I called my dad up and he said, you know, they built a bridge out to Captiva Island down in southern Florida. He says, if I were you, I'd take a ride down there and look. So I went down and I went to Captiva in a little place called Jensen's Twin Palms. There's a little marina with houseboats and cottages. And I talked to the owner and he hired me to run his marina. I bought a houseboat and lived on that for 3 years, and then I bought a house a couple blocks down the road and became a fishing guide. And I did that for 30 years. And I retired out of that, moved up to, I went up to help a friend in South Carolina and ended up living there for 3 years and met my wife up there. And that's pretty much where I was. I did a lot of traveling when I first got out of the service because I didn't feel connected to anybody. I didn't keep in touch with my family. My dad had passed, And my mom had passed when I was 17, so I was pretty much on my own, other than a couple of family members. But I pretty much was lost, as far as I can say right now. I feel like I was totally just on my own in the world, and traveling, and I met great people. I've gotten some really great situations, and it helped me reacclimate myself to the States and to real life outside the military. But growing up in the military, I knew how to maneuver through the channels. I knew what to do, but it was going to Vietnam it was not anything that was good. Nothing good out of it.
Okay.
It's not about it as far as that goes.
Did you how was the food while you were in the service?
The best. Compared to everything else. I ate in the Navy Chow Hall in Key West. It was horrible.
Oh.
But every Air Force base I was ever on was phenomenal.
Oh, okay.
We had at Shepherd, actually, we had the dining hall we went to was servicing all the foreign officers who were coming over for flight training or for some kind of training, and they were bragging to their countries that their food couldn't come near ours, and I was like right there with them. It was great.
Wow. Besides the places that you mentioned, where else have you traveled?
I've pretty much been around the world several times.
Okay.
I've traveled quite a bit. As a boat captain, I've done deliveries all through the Caribbean, up and down the East Coast, been through the canal one time. I have a place in Jamaica that I want to go and stay at forever, but I spent some time, we lived in the Azores when I was a kid, and I got to go back over, and then I went to Portugal and spent some time over there, and then came back to the States. But I went to Germany with my sister, and I went to Germany, and the high point of my trip there was going to the salt mines, the Salzburg salt mines. Mm-hmm. That was phenomenal. And then I came back to the States and went to one in Arkansas that was even bigger than the ones in Germany. So I was pretty impressed with that.
Okay.
And I've been in every state except Alaska. I've been to.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's saying a lot.
Mm-hmm. I'm sitting there shaking. I don't know why.
You were never a prisoner of war.
No.
Good. Thank God for that.
No.
You ever have anything to do with battle planning?
No.
Okay. How did you stay in touch with your family while you were in the military?
Well, we wrote letters, and I could actually send messages through my dad through different ways in the service. I could send messages back with a pilot. I could send packages back. I could get online over there at Tonsanute was pretty much an Americanized base, so we had all the amenities you could want. We had telephones, we had the swimming pool, and the golf course and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I could go and at times I could call right to my dad, and he was who I would call and talk with anything. But as far as the rest of the family and friends, I wrote letters.
Okay.
And they would send me pictures, and I'd send back and forth stuff like that. I have at my sister's house in Gainesville, I have a box full of all the letters and pictures and stuff like that, and I'm saving that so I can give it to my granddaughter.
Right. Okay. Okay. How did you get along with officers?
I lost a stripe because of an officer. I was in a bar in Merced, California. Uh-huh. I just got my third stripe before I did anything, and I was in a bar, and this lieutenant was really being a jerk to this lady, and he grabbed her by the arm. When he grabbed her by the arm, I said, "Please, don't touch her. She's not comfortable with you." And he turned around and told me to shut the F up. And he turned around and grabbed her again, and I cold cocked him right then. And the base commander took a stripe because he had to. He says, "I don't want to take this stripe." He says, "You did the right thing as a gentleman and as a man." He said, "You did the right thing." He says, "But by law, I have to take a stripe."
Okay.
I'm not a violent person.
No.
But don't hurt somebody near me.
No, I get it. No, believe me. Did you keep a diary?
No. In all honesty, the only reason I have the pictures is, and the things I have in the box is because my sister put it all together. Once I left once I left country, I didn't even want to hear about it ever again.
Have you stayed in touch with any of your peers?
Not from the military.
Friends, not from the military? No, not at all.
No.
Have you used your GI Bill?
No.
No?
I still have all of it.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Why haven't you used it?
I haven't really thought about it. I mean, when I bought my house on Captiva, I bought it for a song, so I didn't need to borrow it to use.
You need to use it, huh?
Yeah. And I was still in the military when I started college, and I was still under the guise of being in the military when I graduated.
Have you ever belonged to any veterans organizations?
No.
No? Okay, well, let me see. People's good careers. So tell me, okay, your opinion, and and I know you spoke about this somewhat, but anyway, I'm going to ask you again. Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
Yeah, it did. It showed me that there are necessary evils in the world that we have to take care of. As far as the military goes, there is a necessity for it. The problem I have is that when you're done with the military, there's no after military support really, other than if you're injured or something like this. From what I've seen, I haven't seen any well, right now we have so many people who are veterans who are homeless and things like this. We don't have the support for these people who gave their lives for us. And that is a big issue to me. I think that we need to take better care of who needs our help as far as this goes. Not every veteran needs this kind of help. There are a lot of them out here who need major support, and they've never gotten any of it.
What kind of help are you talking about?
I'm talking about homes, I'm talking about financial support, I'm talking about mental support. And there are organizations out there, but they're not as accessible as I feel they should be. It's frustrating when you are in a situation where, say, like the hurricane that we just went through, okay? I am not a rich man. I lost everything a few years ago for something I was dealing with. But when I went to about 6, maybe 7 organizations who were supposed to be veteran support groups,
Yeah.
or veteran assist groups, all of them turned me down because I'm a Vietnam era vet, as opposed to being an Iraqi or an Afghanistan vet or something like this. And I felt that was really, really messed up. And I know there's a lot of guys in my generation who are in the same shoes, who can't get help, who can't get anything going on. And there's no place, unless you go to Seattle or someplace that's building veterans tiny homes or something like this, but those are so isolated. I think that every town ought to have a place for veterans to go and stay if they need a place or they need something, because these are people who got the way they are basically because they gave time to help us and to protect us. And that's really what it comes down to me, is I think we need better community support, and we need real support, not just call this group, not just write a letter to somebody. You have to actually have a place, or have somebody who comes and takes these vets by the hand sometimes to get them help. And that's not out there that I've seen. I'm sure somewhere there is something, but I haven't seen it. And literally I've been cross country, and I've seen vets in every state I've been in who are in the same shoes, same kind of situations.
At present, what is your situation with as far as being a veteran and also going through what you've been going through for the last year as a result of Hurricane Michael? And what kind of response have you gotten overall with the help that you've needed, and what kind of help have you needed?
I need, more than anything, we've needed financial help. And it's nowhere. There is absolutely nobody. The American Legion told me that I could come, they could help me if I was a member. I can't afford to be a member. AMVETS, there's several groups I've been to reach out for something, And they've all said, we don't do that, we don't have time, we don't have the help for that, we don't have the ability to do that. And that's not what I was raised to believe, and that's not what they talk about when they're selling their commercials on TV and things like this. That's not how they present themselves. And I think that's a lot of vets feel the same thing, that there's people out there who are talking the talk, but they're not walking the walk. Mm-hmm. And that's something that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
The other thing too is when you go to the VA, and I have to say I've had phenomenal experiences with the VA.
Right.
But their protocols are to give you pharmaceutical drugs immediately.
Right.
And they just pile them on top of you. I know so many vets who are addicted to different pills, who have to take multiple doses daily to keep up their brains, I guess. But there's so many people out there that it's easier for them to pop a pill than to eat right or to do something that's better for them. And the VA needs to address an alternative system that has a better result with less side effects than pharmaceuticals. And I think that's critical.
Right.
So.
Okay, last question. How did your service and experiences affect your life?
It gave me a voice, gave me the strength to say what needs said sometimes. And it gave me the experience to say, hey, listen, you guys are thinking that going to war is a wonderful thing. I've been there, it's not. It's the most despicable thing you can do to another human being is to shoot at them. And to take their life over a philosophy. And that's my biggest takeaway, is that the big thing is that there are alternatives to what we went through. And because people sitting in Washington, D.C. or wherever are making the rules and sending people out to die, they need to be first in line to see what's happening out there and be the first ones to understand this isn't how we do it.
I don't think I asked you, you said you were in Vietnam for 13 months?
11 months.
11 months. Mm-hmm. Were there a lot of casualties in your unit?
We had quite a few, yeah. We were in a frontline situation. We were flying things that had big targets painted on the side of them.
Okay.
And we were in a situation where we'd be staying out in country for a week or 2 weeks or so stuff would happen out. I remember being in villages and eating dinner with the people, and the next morning their villages basically got blown up or something. So people that I knew were taken out, and there was no responsibility for it. I think that probably bothers me more than anything else, that nobody was held accountable for those things because it's war. When you take a human life, there's something just ungodly about that. And that became the norm. We were talking to somebody earlier who was talking about the heads on a post with the ears missing. Right. Those were taken as souvenirs. Right. And that to me goes back to the days when we're barbarians. And I think that we've evolved more than that. And the fact that we're still fighting wars the way we do it is just beyond me. I just don't get it. And I think that we need a whole different mental process to deal with these kind of things, other than just going out and killing people.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Just take care of each other.
Well, I want to thank you for your service, and I also want to thank you for this interview.
Thank you.